All right, Shalom. I want to give all the praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shai Bahasham, Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who taught me this truth, and double salutations to all you Akim out there laboring, the house of David, the elect, that's pushing this word with all truth, righteousness, and sincerity. Shalom to you, brothers, and shalom to the elect. I'm back with another quick lesson through the Holy Spirit of Rakakwadash. And 2025 has been a real freaky and nasty year. And as usual, all the wickedness that's going on in Hollywood is continuously being brought forth to the light. This video here is from yesterday. It was at 20 million views. You can check out the whole interview on YouTube. I want to read the caption here. It says, breaking news. Hollywood actor Terrence Howard revealed to PBD that every celebrity that attended Diddy's parties got popped, quote unquote, and quote, lost their man card. This would include LeBron James, Barack Obama, Jay-Z, and many other prominent Diddy party attendees. Okay, so the point that I want to get into in this lesson, based off this information that we already know about, but just wanted to link up a few scriptures to it. Most of these celebrities that you niggas worship and idolize are total demons, okay? And they're going to perish on this side because they have already received of their consolation. Okay, the blessing, the riches, the fame of this world. So in a sense, they have thrown away their chance of salvation for the cares of this world. You see that? And the scriptures say this in 1 Timothy chapter 6, verse 9. It says, 1 Timothy 6 and 9, it reads, it says, but they that will be rich fall into temptation and a snare, and into many foolish and hurtful lust, which drown men in destruction and perdition. All right, a lot of these celebrities have done complete nastiness, dirt, okay, to receive of the riches, the fame of this world, all right, the status or whatnot. They had to go through some really, wicked shit in order to obtain those things, the rituals, the enchantments, okay, selling out their manhood, as we're going to get into this video. A lot of, wicked things these celebrities have done to receive of that fame, right? 1 Timothy 6 and 10, it says, for the love of money is the root of all evil, which while some coveted after, they have erred from the faith and pierced themselves through with many sorrows, which he's going to get into in this video real quick. So let's play that. All right. Again, as I said, this is information that we already know, but it's the Spirit of the Lord that's causing us to be exposed. All right. Because we're in the time of judgment. All right.
But when you give up your manhood, I've never seen somebody recover from it. That was all the people that went to the puffy parties. That was all the people that did all those things thinking that there was never going to be a consequence for what they were doing. Get punked out and pimped out by some greater desire. You shouldn't have a greater desire than being a man. So I believe that's a big problem with a lot of the actors out there, because they get fluid. And next thing you know, once you go fluid, it's gone. You don't have any foundation to pull yourself back from. So maintain your man card, no matter what.
Man, I mean, one of the things you're seeing, you went to a whole different place.
Sorry.
No, I get it. So you see some guys struggling with that. You see Bieber struggling with that. You see some of these guys struggling with that.
They can't get it out of their head. They can't get it out of their head. The things that they did, no matter how they did it, whether they were drunk or high or whatever, you gave up your man card. You need therapy. And that's the thing that hurts them the most. And so they end up on drugs, end up every way to try and get rid of any principles there are. And that's what the business does. And the women that trade their bodies to go and get the role, they get to the point where they have their Oscar, they have their money, but they don't have their dream. They don't have the soul that they started with. So it's like achieving don't mean anything. If I get all the Nobel Prizes from doing all of this, but in the process I have to trade out all of my integrity to do it so that they can stay in place, what benefit is that?
Exactly. And see, that's what happens. All right. They overdose on these drugs, to try to get rid of those demons that's on them. All right. Some of them commit suicide. All right, because there's no coming back from that, as he was saying, and he made mention about integrity, and that's what happens. Right. This is Sirach or Ecclesiastes chapter 10 verse 9. It says, why is earth and ashes proud? There is not a more wicked thing than a covetous man. For such and one set of his own soul to sell. You see that? He said of his own soul to sell, because while he liveth, he cast away his bowels, and your bowels go back to your morals and integrity, right? And that's what happens when these guys, make those covenants with the devil, all right, with them small hats, all right, for that fame and riches. They got to do these demonic things to get that fame, that power, if you will, all right. And all of it is vanity, because everything on this side is getting ready to be burnt up. All right. So all these niggas that got the fame and the riches and all of that, it was all for nothing. You see?
You need therapy. And that's the thing that hurts them the most. And so they end up on drugs, end up every way to try and get rid of any principles there are. And that's what the business does. And the women that trade their bodies to go and get the role, they get to the point where they have their Oscar, they have their money, but they don't have their dream. They don't have the soul that they started with. So it's like achieving don't mean anything. If I get all the Nobel Prizes from doing all of this, but in the process I have to trade out all of my integrity to do it so that they can stay in place, what benefit is that if I lose my integrity? You got to go in as a principal. And what we were brought in here as men. We produce 1,500 sperm per heartbeat for a reason, because the aggression is necessary. You don't trade that in, no matter what.
Yeah, so again, the point is that most of these celebrities are going to perish on this side. They're not going to make it. All right, and I want to read this real quick. This is Luke 6:24. It says, but woe unto you that are rich, for ye have received your consolation. All right, let's look at this word consolation. All right, here's the definition. It says the act or instance of consoling, the state of being consoled. It says... Here we go. Definition number 5. It says the act of consoling, the state of being consoled. It says alleviation of misery or distress of mind, refreshment of spirit, comfort, that which consoles or comforts the spirit. You see, so these celebrities that sold out, that sold their soul, that cast away their bowels, their morals and integrity, all right, they've already received of their comfort, their blessing, man. You see what I'm saying? The riches on this side. All right. The prize, the benefit. All right. This is what they have taken on. All right. By, selling out to Satan. All right. Making these Hollywood deals, doing this nasty work, to get the fame or whatnot, man. All right. So they've received of that consolation, and they're going to be destroyed. All right. There's no hope for these niggas, man. And this guy, Terrence, what's his name? Terrence Howard, he's just another one of them too. I'm pretty sure he was involved, right? You got these, like these double agents, these guys, they're tied into this thing too. So don't let this guy fool you, This is a quick, just reading the commentary on Luke 6:24 we just read, right? About the consolation. So it says here, but woe to you who are rich. This phrase begins with a pronouncement of woe, a term often used by prophets in the Old Testament to signal impending judgment or misfortune. In the context of Yahweh's teachings, it serves as a warning to those who place their trust in material wealth rather than the Most High. The rich in this context are those who prioritize earthly possessions over spiritual riches, right? It says, this echoes the teachings found in the parable of the rich fool, Luke 12:16-21, and the story of the rich young ruler, Luke 18:18-23, where wealth becomes a barrier to entering the kingdom of the Most High. See, so like I said, by them receiving of that consolation, that the blessings of this world, the cares of this world, all right, they've pretty much thrown away their chance of salvation. You know, they basically they have achieved salvation on this side. You know, they're already in their kingdom, so to speak. You know, they got everything they need. Like that demon Drake said. He said, I can't see. He said, I can't see heaven being any better than this. You know, which is blasphemy. But you see, that's the point. That's what comes with when you sell out. You know. So these guys are doomed, man. It says the cultural context of the time, Salaki, the cultural context of the time saw wealth as a sign of God's favor, but Yahweh Shai challenges this notion by highlighting the spiritual dangers of riches. You see, as we read in was it 1 Timothy 6 and 9 and 10. All right, it says that. Let me read that verse 9 again. It says, but 1 Timothy 6 and 9 says, but they that will be rich fall into temptation and a snare, and into many foolish and hurtful lusts, which drown men in destruction and perdition. You see that? So these guys in Hollywood, as it's been coming out, these Diddy parties, the child trafficking, the blood rituals, the enchantments, all right, communing with demons, all these things that these niggas do to obtain that fame and power, it's all going to lead them to the destruction. All right, perdition. It says, reading a little bit more, it says, for you have already received your comfort. This phrase suggests that the rich have found their consolation in their wealth, leaving no room for deeper eternal comfort that comes from the Most High. The use of already implies a temporal satisfaction that is fleeting compared to the eternal rewards promised to those who seek God's kingdom first. Exactly. So they sold their soul for temporal riches. All right, for temporary fame. All right, all these things are going to be cast away. They're going to be burnt up. You see? So these damn Hollywood Jake celebrities, they're pretty much cooked, man. Is my point. Right? This is Mark 8 and 35. It says, for whosoever will save his life shall lose it. But whosoever shall lose his life for my sake and the gospels the same shall save it. Exactly. It says the point, verse 36, for what shall it profit a man if he gain the whole world and lose his own soul? What profit is that? All right, all for some temporary riches, for some fake money. Okay, for shit that don't even matter. Right? It says, or what shall a man give in exchange for his soul? Right? It says, whosoever therefore shall be ashamed of me and my words in this adulterous and sinful generation, of him also shall the Son of Man be ashamed when he cometh in the glory of his Father with his holy angels. Right? So you're gonna these niggas are gonna be ashamed, all right, and the Lord is gonna be ashamed of them. All right, because the question is, was it all worth it? Was it worth it at the end? You know? Isaiah 28 and I started 14. Isaiah 28 and 14. Wherefore hear the word of the Lord, Yahweh Shem Yahushua, you scorn for men that rule this people which is in Jerusalem. All right, because essentially these celebrities are like they're like idols. Okay, you know, you got our people who look up to these damn demons, man, that strive to be like them. All right, and we said this before. All this information that's coming out, you still got niggas that still want to be a Hollywood celebrity, knowing all the shit that these Jakes had to do to obtain the fame and the riches. Right? Verse 15, it says, because you have said, we have made a covenant with death, and with hell are we at agreement. When the overflowing scourge shall pass through, it shall not come unto us, for we have made lies our refuge, and under falsehood have we hid ourselves. And going back to those deals, those covenants, those contracts that these Jakes have made with these devils in Hollywood, these small hats. All right, there's no getting out of that. And like Terrence Howard was saying, this is why you be seeing these celebrities on hella drugs, overdosing, committing suicide, all of this shit, because they're trying to fight off those inner demons, man. They're trying to fight off that pain, that regret, for doing what they did. Like he said, you can't get rid of that. You can't let that go, man. It's ingrained in them. That trauma that they committed, and to have this, this so-called life, right? It says, jumping down, Isaiah 28:18, it says, "And your covenant with death shall be disannulled, and your agreement with hell shall not stand. When the overflowing scourge shall pass through, then you should be trodden down by it." Yeah, so at the end of the day, all right, these guys, these jakes, they make these deals with the devil to try to, overstep the curses, but at the end, they always end up being destroyed anyway. They always end up falling anyway. So that's just what it is. Because remember, this world was given over to the devil. All right, let me get that too. Life and wickedness. This world lieth in wickedness. Right. This is 1 John 5:19. It says, "And we know that we are of the Most High, and the whole world lieth in wickedness." And I always bring this out. Let's go into this word lieth. The whole world lieth in wickedness.
Strong's G 2749. Kaimai. Kaimai.
That word lieth, it says, the point, definition 3, at the bottom here it says, lies in the power of the evil one, i.e. is held in subjection by the devil. All right. This is the devil's world, man. All right. So these guys that made those deals, those contracts, that have received of their consolation, right? They made that, they made that deal with Satan, man. All right. This is why this wicked shit goes on at that level in Hollywood, man. Okay. All these celebrities are tied into this madness, no matter who it is. Your actors, your athletes, these big names, they're all tied to Diddy and Jay-Z and the fucking Epstein files and all of that shit, man. All right. See, Esau, what he does, he has all these celebrities, pretty much blackmailed. All right. So when they go against the grain, so to speak, all right, Esau has that he has that one up on him. He has that information. He has that exposure on him, man, to get him back in line. So Hollywood is completely demonic, and like we brought out before, okay, who runs Hollywood, man? This is back in 2008, right? Who runs Hollywood? We already know the answer to that, right? It's the Jays, right? And this whole article gets into that. How deeply Jayish is Hollywood? When the studio chiefs took out a full-page ad in the Los Angeles Times a few weeks ago to demand that Screen Actors Guild settle in contract, the open letter was signed by News Corp President Peter Chernin, Jayish Paramount Pictures Chairman Brad Gray, Jayish Walt Disney Company Chief Executive Robert Iger, Jayish Sony Pictures Chairman Michael Linton, Surprise Dutch J, Warner Brothers Chairman Barry Mayer, Jayish CBS Corp Chief Executive Leslie Mooms, So Jayish, his great uncle, was the first Prime Minister of Israel. MGM Chairman Harry Sloan Jayish and NBC Universal Chief Executive Jeff Zucker Mega Jayish. If either of the Weinstein brothers had signed, this group would have not only the power to shut down all film production, but to form a mini-inn with enough Fiji water on hand to fill a mikvah. All right. So, pretty much this article lets you know that the Jays run they run Hollywood, man, which, like I said, this is not a surprise. We already knew of these things. So the point of the matter, again, is that, most of these, if not all of them, these celebrities are finished, man. So I pray that this quick lesson was edified, man. All right. And shalom to the next one. Shalom.